Hello, Dolphins fans. I hope you have a bright mood. I know it's hard with your team just not really performing, but yeah, I would be lying if I said it's going to be better this year. But maybe you just found your quarterback of the future because Malik Willis is here. Let's talk about Dolphins draft review. And at the same time, while I say Malik Willis is here, trading away Jalen Waddle just diminishes his chance of success, but we will get to it in the QB part of this video. Now, for guys that are new to here, if you want just my quick thoughts about how I think each and every single team envisions going into the draft, their need, how they should invest their resources, here it is. If you want to dig deeper, know why I have the opinions that I have, follow me. We will have like 15 minutes to talk about every single team. Today, it's Miami Dolphins. Now, if you want to really dig deeper and support me in the process, leave a like, leave a comment. Everything is appreciated, or subscribe, that would be the best. And I encourage you to join me on the draft day because we will be live on the whole 3 days. Now, no further ado, let's start. QB room for the Miami Dolphins. I was kind of happy for Malik Willis because he got paid. He got a chance, and now the chance feels like it's been taken away from him a lot because it's going to be really, really hard for him to persuade Dolphins that he is their quarterback of the future prior to next year's draft that's going to contain so many very good QB prospects with starting three of wide receivers as they stand right now: Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert, and Tutu Atwell. Not to mention that the team is already one of the worst, but this is like unheard of. Really hard after Jalen Waddle trade to just see Malik Willis success in 26 or succeed enough for them to not go for a first round QB next season. And don't kid yourself, that contract that he signed does not protect him 27 or 28 whatsoever. At the same time, for this draft, it means you are not investing in quarterback at all. So that's that. Now, in terms of the running back room, Achane is the guy. I actually bumped him up towards eliteness when I saw really how great his season was. When I really watched back and it was January, February. I'm like, this Achane guy, there was not much to be excited about Dolphin season, but he really took another gear in his game. Now, behind him, you have Jalen Wright and especially Ollie Gordon, which I think is tremendous fit next to Achane because he's going to give them this beefy presence and take away from Achane a lot of carries that you don't want him to have for his long-term success. Perhaps it's going to piss off some fantasy guys because Ollie Gordon might snatch up 5 or 6 touchdowns from Achane, but we talk here football, not fantasy football. So from that perspective, it's a great and figure-out room for years to come. Hopefully, at least that Devon does not succumb to any injuries. Now, we have already spoken about this, but wide receiver, it's just the worst room in the league, and it's not close. This room needs at least one major starting guy immediately, and I would even advocate for 2. And it's just absolutely fine to just make this room functional. And I would say here I would really stand my ground and say this is the position that you need to do. And not just because it's so bad, but because you have brought Malik Willis here, and you need to know whether he's your guy of the future prior to next year's draft. You need to know. And for that, you need to know if he can throw the ball. And for that, you kind of need to have guys that he can throw to. So to me, I would spend at least 2. Not at least. I would spend 2 of the how much they have? They have 500 5 top 100 picks or top 90. I would spend at least 2, one of them most likely being that first round pick, on wide receivers. I just want to know prior to next year's draft if Malik Willis is the guy, and I need to give him a chance. If not, then his signing is kind of weird. Because he is not the bridge quarterback. He is potentially a franchise guy. He's not Kirk Cousins type of signing or Geno Smith. Bridge for a year, Jacoby Brissett. You can legit think Malik Willis is your franchise guy. Now, if you just take away all the play tools, then it's you kind of could have gone for Geno Smith, save a ton of money, and go for 27 as some other teams will. So to me, wide receiver, absolute dire need. Now, their tight ends is also in a bit of bad shape. You can say Darren Waller was actually quite good for them. He's not on the roster anymore. He's not signed, if I'm not mistaken. So he might come back. If he doesn't, I would also go for this as a tier 1 need, because Greg Dulcich, Ben Sims, and Jalen Conyers as your starting trio, or like the best trio, that's not good. At the same time, I really think that Darren Waller, why not come back to a team that actually it worked with you? I think with Malik Willis, it's going to be a good fit. They do have the money to bring him in, so, figure it out or invest, depending on how they want to approach. If Darren Waller is there, I would say it's kind of like low tier 2 need, because future is still very much in question, but like you are really looking at this in terms of kind of 1 year with Malik Willis. That's your main goal, to see what you have there. Now, one thing that perhaps they can hopefully say like there is something there would be their offensive line. They have spent some picks in Patrick Poe and Jonas Savannah in there. Did they necessarily looked well so far? No. Unfortunately, no. At the same time, there is still a ton of value, especially in a year where like everybody expects you to be shit. By the way, they have around 180 million in dead cap hit for the season. Like they are paying 180 millions to a guy that are not there. So just to put the perspective, like with how much more other teams are operating than the Dolphins are in 26. So this is really a team that just nobody should have any expectation. And with that in mind, I would call their offensive tackles tier 2 need, because I'm okay with developing them and giving Austin Jackson and Patrick Poe like 1 more year to start, especially with Patrick Poe. I hope he can develop into something. You kind of don't have backups, and both of these guys are replaceable level starters at this point, nothing more. So bring another guy to, at worst, be your backup, at best, hopefully emerge as a franchise tackle, feels like a very sensible thing to do. So kind of a high tier 2 for the Dolphins. Now, if there is probably like the best player on this roster, no, it's Devon Achane, but like in terms of the offensive line, it's clearly Aaron Brewer, Pro Bowl level center. He was really amazing for them last year. Now, he is one guy that like was really thriving under Mike McDaniels, and I wonder if with new regime in town, they will necessarily get the best out of Aaron Brewer and like how athletic he is, because if they are going to more of a power scheme, that's not necessarily the biggest fit for him. So that's one thing to watch for this year. At the same time, Aaron Brewer is like one of top 5 centers in the game. You don't need to talk about that. But with guards, the opposite is quite true. They have invested in Jonas Savannah, and it was ugly. It was really ugly first year. At the same time, you are going with that, but it does not still diminish a tier 1 need, in my opinion, because your other guard is Jamari Sayel, who, like, if he's my guard 4, I'm like calm. If he's my guard 3, I'm on the edge. And if he's my guard 2, I'm worried. So you absolutely need a guard, in my opinion. Tier 1 need, like, do I need to talk about that? And it's like with Miami, we will talk about a lot of tier 1 needs, because this just does not have too much. So they will obviously not be able to successfully get all of them in this draft, but at least from how, like, they to a degree are in a good situation, because it's very hard to imagine that a player that's going to be like the highest on their draft board or like the top 3, neither one of them is going to be for the position of their primary need, because they have so many of them. So to a degree, it's like a fine draft from that. Now, speaking of their defense, edge. So Bradley Chubb is not there. And you have what? Job Robinson, who had great 8 games to finish 24 and has been dreadful prior and kind of really underwhelming last year. So he's your 1. Your 2, as of right now, is Joshua Uche. Your 3 is David Ojabo. It's ugly, man. It's another like clear tier 1. Like, even if you consider like, let's keep believing in Job Robinson, which like I'm kind of fine with. Like Joshua Uche is a pass rush specialist. David Ojabo is always injured and not very good. So yeah, another clear tier 1 need. Interior of the defensive line, perhaps something that they could look and see like there's a bright future ahead of us, because Jordan Phillips looked amazing for like a 6th or 7th round pick. Kenneth Grant, when he was able to play, because injury kept him out of the games, you have seen the improvements, especially at the end of the year. He was really starting to come on his own. And Zach Sealer, like he dropped off. I had him as like top 15 defensive tackles prior to last year. He dropped to like 20s. At the same time, he's still a good player. So you have your top 3, that is absolutely fine with me. And you have actually quite a lot of potential to even call this, let's say, a strong situation for you. At the same time, like bringing another body because your DT4 is Matthew Butler, yeah, that definitely could be on the menu. Linebackers. Jordyn Brooks is linebacker 1, your Colt Matt of tight ends. No, maybe that's just not fair. Like, okay, he's better than Colt Matt of tight ends. Like, he is borderline top 10 linebacker, so very fine option for NLB1, but it's like, it's linebacker, so you just kind of don't need, you need to not suck, or you need to have like Fred Warner guys. So that's kind of how I view linebackers overall, but it's very nice to have Jordyn Brooks. The problem is you don't have LB2. Tyler Dodson is kind of playable. Do I want him as my linebacker 2? Hell no. So to me, tier 2 need, looking for the future, looking for LB2 spot, looking for depth, everything is there. But because you have your LB1, I just can't bring myself to call it a tier 1 need. And like, even here I was like struggling to just, okay, but like I would like to be better. It would be really nice to invest like premium research, but I already need to do it for 6 other positions. So yeah, I need to get myself in check, right? Now, yeah, I'm sorry guys, I cannot show you anyone else because I only give you guys pictures of players that are going to make my tier maker videos. And there's just not too many on the Dolphins roster. Now, their secondary, it might be even worse than their wide receiver room, okay? And that says a lot. I mean, as of right now, they are set to start Darrell Baker Jr., Alex Austin, Jason Marshall as their corners. There is Sondak and Juju Brands potentially like taking over the spots, but they are both like now on like injury question mark list. So like, okay, there is something. I like at least Juju Brands. And Dante Trader and Lonnie Johnson as their safeties. So one good thing is they have 4 juniors on their secondary. Darrell Baker, Dante Trader, Lonnie Johnson, and Jason Marshall are juniors by the name. Where is the quality? like, what is the secondary, man? Okay, I'm like fine with developing Dante Trader, and Juju Brands is kind of a guy that I have not given up on. That, you know, I will be happy if he gets a chance to be a CB2. Here he is CB1 as of right now, probably. But like, this could get ugly. Like, if they cannot find any pass rush, if Chubby Robinson is what he was last year, and like a team that has good interior of the offensive line, so that interior that you have cannot create a push, they are going to get picked apart, man. You know, one more thing to like Malik Willis, good effing luck, man, because yeah, this team has a lot of needs. It's clear, like we have entered this with that expectation, but I was shocked like how bad it is. And it tells you, like, hard rebuild are hard. They are ugly in the process. At the same time, I do applaud Miami Dolphins much more than I do applaud New York Jets, for example, because they really took this on the chin, understanding this year we are going to suck. We are going to suck. And rather than prolonging our suffering to 3 years, let's just take as much as we can, as much misery as we can on 26, and give us a better chance of actually improving for 27 or 28. Unlike the Jets, who brought a lot of band-aids, a lot of veterans to put meaningful product on the field, but at the same time, product that's not going to get you anywhere near Super Bowl, and does dog shit for your future. So if I have to choose between these two approaches, Miami wins by a freaking country mile. it might not be really the same as like if I was going to the stadium and like wanted to see a good product. And this year, like Miami might get 50 burgers on them like twice, 3 times a year. They might. But I would be much more excited about their future with this approach. Like I think if Jets took this approach, like they could have been Super Bowl potential in 28, because with the amount of picks they had and money that they would clear, man, they could have built like great team for 28. They seem to prioritize like not sucking right now rather than optimizing for the Super Bowl. So that was me ranting at the end. It's a bad roster. It clearly is. You have a ton of needs, and at the same time, like I said, to a degree, it's beneficial with the draft, because you can absolutely, and I think you should, go with the best player available. The only one thing that I would be like, you need to address the wide receivers, because you need to give Malik Willis a chance. Please. Thank you very much for listening, and see you with the next one.